Welcome.
This happened to me in California back in 2017 when I was driving nights around Los Angeles. I usually worked airport runs, bar pickups, normal stuff. Most nights were boring. But one rainy Thursday around 2:50 a.m., I got a request near an old gas station off a canyon road I'd never seen before. I almost canceled because the area looked dead. No traffic, no open businesses, just a flickering sign and fog rolling over the road. But I accepted. A guy stepped out of the dark and got in my back seat. Mid-40s maybe. Dark jacket. Mud on his boots. Real quiet. I remember thinking, this dude feels off. He just said, "Canyon Overlook." That was it. As I drove, I kept checking the mirror, and every time, he was already looking at me. Not casually, staring. After a few minutes he asked, "You ever drive someone and realize too late you should have kept going?" I kinda laughed and said, "Nah, man." He said, "If someone flags you down on the way back, don't stop." That line stuck with me. At the Overlook, he handed me cash, got out, and walked into the fog. No goodbye, nothing, just gone. I turned around to leave and noticed he'd left something on the seat, a folded Polaroid. I pulled under a light and opened it. It showed a woman standing near a guardrail with the words Black Hollow, 1998 written on the back. It felt wrong enough that I drove to a police station before going home. A detective looked at the photo, asked me to describe the passenger, then slid over a file photo. Same man, same face. Then he told me the guy was a suspect in multiple murders tied to women who disappeared near that canyon. Never convicted. Recently transferred to a medical prison. Not dead, worse. Escaped during transport 2 days earlier. My stomach dropped. Then the detective asked exactly what the man said to me. When I repeated, "If someone flags you down on the way back, don't stop," the detective went quiet. He said a surviving witness from 1998 gave almost the same statement before vanishing. That should have been enough to keep me away forever. But 2 nights later, I made a mistake. I was driving late, trying to pretend none of it got in my head, when I passed through the canyon again after a drop-off. And yeah, I saw someone by the roadside. A woman waving both arms. Alone, middle of nowhere. I remembered the warning and kept driving. But I also did something stupid. I called 911 and reported what I saw. Deputies went out. They found disturbed dirt near the guardrail and signs someone had been dragged recently, but no woman. Next morning, the detective called me in. They found fibers near the scene that matched evidence from one of the old murders. He asked if I'd seen the passenger again. I said no. He stared at me and said, "Check your rideshare history." I did. There was a completed ride logged from that first night, but the passenger name field was blank. No name, no account photo, no payment record. The trip technically didn't exist. A week later, police arrested a man hiding in a hunting cabin 20 miles from the canyon. Same guy I picked up. At least, that's what they told me. But here's why I still think something was wrong. During a lineup, I was asked to identify him. I pointed to the man. The detective pulled me aside afterward and said, "That's not who we thought you'd pick." Apparently, I identified a volunteer stand-in, not the suspect. The real suspect had been standing 2 places over. I swear I recognized the face I chose. Same eyes, same voice in my head, same man from my car. I started feeling sick. Then, months later, I got one last thing in the mail with no return address. Inside was the Polaroid I gave police, the same one that was supposed to be in evidence. On the back, under the old writing, new words had been added in fresh ink. "You stopped anyway." I called the detective. Number disconnected. I called the station. They told me the detective I'd been speaking to retired 10 years earlier. Yeah, 10 years. I thought it was a joke until I looked him up. Same name, same face. Retired long before I ever met him. I deleted the rideshare app after that. Haven't driven nights since. But every few months, I hear about another body found in canyon brush after heavy rain in that part of California. No arrests. Same pattern. And sometimes, Usually around 2:50 a.m., I get a spam call with nothing but road noise on the other end, and a man's voice saying one thing before the line cuts out. You should have kept driving. This happened to me in Los Angeles in 2019 when I was doing overnight security at a storage facility near the industrial side of the city. Nothing glamorous, just 12-hour graveyard shifts, bad coffee, security monitors, and walking rows of storage units while trying not to fall asleep. Most nights were dead, quiet enough that you start noticing every little sound, the hum of lights, a gate chain rattling in the wind, distant traffic off the freeway. Normal stuff. Or so I thought. There was one unit everybody joked about, Unit C14. Managers said it belonged to a tenant who stopped paying years ago, but somehow never got auctioned. I figured it was just workplace folklore. Then one Tuesday around 2:13 a.m., I saw a movement on a monitor near C14. A man was standing outside the unit, just still, facing the roll-up door. I thought maybe a trespasser. I grabbed a flashlight and drove the golf cart over. By the time I got there, nobody was outside, but the lock on C14 was swinging like it had just been touched. That's when I heard 3 knocks from inside the unit. Real slow. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, nah, I'm not opening that alone. I called my supervisor. No answer. So I checked the cameras again. On playback, the man was there, but he wasn't walking into frame. He just appeared between one frame and the next. I rewound it 3 times. Same thing. I zoomed in. Older guy. Work jacket. Thin face. Looking straight at the camera like he knew I'd review the footage. Next night, same time, 2:13 a.m., the motion alert hit again. Same man. Same unit. This time I went out ready to catch somebody. As I approached, I heard a voice from inside C14 say, "You got a light?" I froze. It sounded like a regular guy. Not ghostly, not weird, just a man asking a question. I backed away and called police. 2 officers responded, cut the lock, and opened the unit. Empty, just old furniture, boxes, and a busted reel-to-reel recorder. One officer joked I was hearing rats, but before leaving, the older cop looked at the recorder and got strangely quiet. He asked for the footage. Next day, he called me to the station. That's when he said the line I told you at the start. If the man in your security footage is who you say it is, then you recorded someone who died in 1994. Turns out a maintenance worker at that same facility disappeared during a night shift in the 90s. Official story was he quit. Unofficially, rumor was he'd been locked inside a storage unit during a robbery gone wrong. Never proven. I figured maybe the cop was messing with me, but he showed me an old employee badge photo. Same face as my footage. Same guy. I should have quit right there. Instead, I made the dumb decision to keep working. I wanted answers. A few nights later, I brought a portable recorder and set it near C14 before 2:13. When the time hit, the motion alert went off, and the man was back. Only this time, he wasn't outside the unit. He was standing directly in front of the security office camera, staring into the lens. Bro, my heart dropped. I ran outside. Nobody there. I came back and played my audio recorder. At first just static. Then a voice. Check the back wall. Next shift, during daylight, I looked inside C14 while maintenance was around. Behind old shelves, I found drywall patched differently from the rest. I told management. They brushed it off. Said don't make trouble. That made me trust them even less. So I told the older cop. He came after hours with a warrant. They broke through the wall. There was a narrow crawl space behind it. And inside, personal items, old tools, a rusted flashlight, and human remains. Real ones. That should have been the end. They reopened the case. News crews showed up. Management acted shocked. But here's where it got worse. The night after the wall was opened, every monitor in the office glitched at once. All screens switched to camera C14. And on every screen, the dead maintenance worker stood inside the unit pointing at the camera. Then he raised one finger and pointed toward the front gate. I looked outside through the office window and saw headlights pulling in. A truck. No scheduled access. Gate should have been locked. A man got out wearing a facility jacket. I thought it was police. It wasn't. He walked straight to the office and knocked. 3 slow knocks. Same pattern I heard from inside the unit. I didn't open the door. He said, "They missed one." Same calm voice from C14. I called 911. The man walked away before officers arrived. Cameras should have captured him entering. They didn't. No vehicle plate. No clear face. Just static at the exact time he approached the office. Police searched records and found something I wish I never knew. The missing worker had a partner on shift the night he disappeared. Another employee, possible accomplice, vanished before questioning. No confirmed death. No trace. Maybe the man at my door was him. Maybe not. I quit 2 days later. Thought it was over. 6 months passed. Then I got a padded envelope with no return address. Inside was a security still printed on paper. Me, sitting alone in the office on my last night. Except I wasn't alone. Standing behind my chair was a man in a facility jacket, looking down at me. Timestamp, 2:13 a.m. The part that messed me up most? That image came from a camera angle that didn't exist in that office. I called the cop who helped me. He said, "Keep the photo, lock your doors, and if I ever hear 3 slow knocks after midnight, don't answer." Last year I drove past the facility out of pure stupidity. Place was shut down, fenced off, but through the chain link, I could see one roll-up door partly open. CE14, and hanging from the latch, a new lock, swinging like someone had just let go. I left fast. Haven't been back. But every once in a while, usually around 2:13 a.m., my phone gets a voicemail with nothing but humming fluorescent lights and 3 slow knocks. Then a man says, real quiet, "You got a light?" This happened to me in Los Angeles in 2021 when I was renting a tiny apartment in Koreatown and doing food delivery at night. Most shifts were normal. Late orders, apartment gate codes that never worked, people texting "bro, where you at?" while you're literally outside. Typical LA chaos. But one Friday around 1:40 a.m., I got an order pickup from a restaurant that had already been closed for an hour. I figured the app glitched, but it paid well, so I drove over. Place was dark, locked, no staff, but the order still showed active. Then I got a customer message, "Park in the alley. Red car will flash headlights. Hand order through passenger window. Don't cancel. Extra cash." I should have bailed. Instead, I was like, all right, weird, but whatever. I pulled into the alley behind the restaurant and saw an older red sedan idling under one broken light. Headlights flashed twice. Passenger window rolled down. A woman inside, maybe late 30s, dark hair, sunglasses at night. That alone felt off. She said, "Put the bag in." I told her the restaurant was closed. There was no food. She smiled and said, "I didn't order dinner." Then she handed me an envelope with a $100 bill and said, "Drive behind me. Don't lose me." Yeah, I know. Dumb decision. But LA does weird things to your judgment at 2 a.m. I followed her through side streets into a neighborhood of modern hillside homes above the city. She stopped outside this massive glass house with all the lights on. Music playing inside. Fancy cars parked out front. She got out, looked at me, and said, "Wait here 5 minutes. If I don't come back, leave." Then she went in. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then I heard screaming from inside the house. Real screaming. A man shouting. Something breaking. I was about to call cops when the woman came sprinting out barefoot, covered in what looked like blood on one sleeve. She yanked open my passenger door and said, "Drive. Now." "Bro," I punched the gas. She kept looking behind us, saying, "They saw you." I said, "Who saw me?" She said, "The people who clean up mistakes." That was the moment I realized I'd stepped into something way above weird. I dropped her where she told me, outside an old motel near downtown. Before getting out, she leaned over and said, "If anyone asks, you never saw the red car." Next morning, homicide detectives were at my apartment. Somehow they knew my name, my vehicle, my route. One detective showed me a photo from a crime scene in those hills. A man had been found dead in that glass house. Stab wound. Signs of a struggle. Then he showed me a photo of the woman. Same face. Same sunglasses. And said, if she contacts you again, call us. Not patrol. Not 911. Homicide. I asked who she was. He said, that depends which identity she's using. Turns out she was linked to multiple open investigations. Fraud, blackmail, possible witness tampering. Maybe murder. But nobody could hold her. Weeks passed, and I tried to move on. Then one night, I got a delivery request from a customer name I recognized instantly. R. Vale. The woman had told me in the car, if anyone asks, my name was Renee Vale. Same name. Delivery address? That same closed restaurant. My chest dropped. I canceled the order. Seconds later, my phone rang from a blocked number. I answered. Her voice. Wrong move. They track cancellations. Then she hung up. I called the detective. No answer. Drove straight to the station. Desk officer told me that detective was on leave. Another detective pulled me into an interview room and asked me to repeat everything. Then he said something that messed me up worse than anything so far. The red sedan I described had been impounded as evidence 3 months before I met the woman. It had never left police storage. I said that made no sense. I followed that car across half the city. He just said, that's why I need you to tell me exactly where she took you. I showed them the hillside house. We drove there together, and there was no house. I'm dead serious. Same street, same overlook. But the lot where I remembered a glass mansion was empty dirt behind a locked construction fence. Detective asked if I was sure. I was sure. I can still picture the front door, the lights, the music, all of it. A week later, I found an AirTag taped under my car. Police said somebody had been tracking me. After that, I started checking mirrors constantly, looking for the red sedan. Then one night on the 101, I saw it. In traffic beside me. Same car. Same woman driving. She looked over, smiled, and held up one finger, like wait. Then a truck passed between us. When it cleared, the red sedan was gone. No exit ramp. Nowhere to go. Just gone. I finally reached the original homicide detective months later. He agreed to meet at a diner. First thing he said was, you shouldn't have come. Then he slid a file across the table. Inside was a surveillance still from a parking garage taken the night I followed the red car. It showed my car entering the garage alone. No red sedan in front of me. No woman in my passenger seat when I left. Just me, driving by myself. I said the footage had to be wrong. He leaned in and said, or she never needed a car. Then he told me 2 witnesses in separate murder cases described a woman matching her face, except their statements were from 1997 and 2008. Same age. No change. He told me if I ever saw her again, do not follow, do not speak, do not let her into my car. Last month, I was stopped at a red light downtown when someone tapped my passenger window. I looked over. Her. Same sunglasses. At night. She smiled and mouthed for words I'll never forget. You still owe me a ride. Then the light turned green. Horns started blaring behind me. I looked back 1 second later. She was gone. And sometimes, usually around 1:40 a.m., my delivery app, deleted for years, pushes one notification to my phone. Pickup ready. Park in the alley. Red car will flash headlights.